What's up, Broncos fans? Back here again to do a quick little video. Just wanted to give you guys a couple prospects that I think the Broncos could look to target tonight in the second and third rounds of the 2018 NFL Draft, night 2 of the 2018 NFL Draft from Dallas, Texas, I believe. Looking forward to it. Still kind of reeling off of night 1, round 1 last night, and what the Broncos were able to do with that 5th overall pick in selecting defensive end Bradley Chubb out of North Carolina State. It seems like most of the reaction around Denver has been pretty positive here, definitely from the players. I'm sure most of you saw Von Miller's reaction on his Instagram. Was ecstatic. It was great to see that. And again, just to add a talent like Bradley Chubb and pair him with a guy like Von Miller, add him to our defense, an edge rusher of his ability, it's just phenomenal. Talent of his level. I don't think anyone really expected him to be there at number 5. I know I didn't, and again, I think you got to thank Cleveland for that because they selected Denzel Ward at number 4, defensive back out of Ohio State. I don't think many people expected that, which led to Chubb kind of falling in our lap at 5, and we couldn't pass him up. Again, that opportunity to pair him up next to Von Miller, it could be something really, really special. So still kind of ecstatic and excited and thrilled and again reeling a little bit off of excitement from last night as a Broncos fan, again in taking Bradley Chubb with that 5th overall pick. A draft that a lot of people have said is top heavy, a lot of people have knocked the depth of it, but honestly I think it couldn't be further from the truth. I think there's still a ton of talent on the board. I think it's still a pretty good draft, pretty deep draft for the most part. It is top heavy in terms of there's a lot of stars that of course were taken in the top 10, top 15 picks or so, but I still think there is a lot of depth in this draft and a lot of talent for the Broncos to look to add in the second and third round. So I'm just going to give 5 prospects here in this video that I think the Broncos will dial in these next 2 rounds, I think, on the offensive side of the football. And the first guy I'm going to talk about kind of fits into that trend perfectly, and that's Will Hernandez, offensive guard out of UTEP, senior, 6'2", 327 pounds. Quentin Nelson, as amazing as he is, again, I think he's going to be a great player for the Indianapolis Colts. I would have loved if the Broncos took him at number 5, even if it was over Bradley Chubb. I think he had to take Chubb in that situation, but they were definitely the 2 best players on the board and arguably 2 of the 3 best players in this draft class, right next to Saquon Barkley. But Will Hernandez, I mean, the gap between him and Quentin Nelson I don't think is as big as people think, and I think he has Pro Bowl potential as well as an offensive guard. This is a guy that has a phenomenal work ethic. You ask his coaches at UTEP, his teammates at UTEP, this is a guy that really, really loves the game of football, really works at his craft, and has really worked hard at improving and getting to this point to be a draft prospect. And honestly, I thought he was going to probably go in the middle to late part of the first round last night. I didn't think we'd have a shot to take him in the second round. I would expect him to be targeted early in the second round. Again, we have the 8th pick, so maybe we might have to trade up a couple spots, or he falls into that 8th pick in the second round. But Will Hernandez, offensive guard at UTEP, a guy that we've been linked to, a guy that I know we liked, I believe was on our Senior Bowl roster, so we got to know. And again, I think would fit really well in with what we're trying to do in terms of revamping our offense, especially from an offensive line standpoint, getting more physical, getting more nasty, so to say. Did that with drafting Garrett Bowles in the first round last year. This would fit as well, this pick, in Will Hernandez, if you take him again probably in that second round. And again, I would love it. I think he would start probably day 1 at that left guard spot or right guard spot opposite Ronald Leary on the other side, the other guard spot. And again, I think would help improve your run game and help you in pass protection day 1. And this is a guy, again, 6'2", 327 pounds, great size at 327 pounds for the guard position, but also has great athleticism. He's very nimble, good feet, agile, is a guy that can get out and pull and make some blocks out in space, and again is pretty good in pass protection. So Will Hernandez, I think we couldn't go wrong with taking him in the second round. Again, I'm still a little surprised he's on the board, and I think it's great value not only with that 40th overall pick if we can snag him up, but even if we have to trade up a couple picks to get him in the second round, a surefire starter. I think one of the safer picks as well in this draft. The next guy I'm going to talk about is a guy that honestly, genuinely, I am beyond stunned that he is available. And some people will probably be like, because of the position he plays, what are you talking about? And maybe other people just aren't as high on this kid as I am. But Derrius Guice, running back out of LSU, junior, 5'11", 225 pounds. Again, I am just absolutely stunned he's available. I thought for sure he was going mid-first round, if not for sure in the late first round. I was stunned that Rashad Penny, running back out of San Diego State, was taken over him by Seattle. Not to take anything away from him. Again, this is a great running back class. But Derrius Guice, like Will Hernandez with Quentin Nelson, I know Saquon Barkley is so special, and by no means is Derrius Guice, I think, the athlete that Saquon Barkley is. But the gap between the two is not much, I don't think. I think Derrius Guice is a very, very elite talent, a very special running back. You're talking about a guy that's still a pretty good athlete in his own right. Again, 5'11", 224 pounds at that size, running a 4.49. Again, it's not Saquon running a 4.4 at, 233 pounds, but 225 to run a 4.49. That's pretty impressive. This is a guy that had some injury issues. He definitely can improve as a receiver. I think in his last 2 seasons at LSU, had combined like 27 catches. So is a guy that maybe isn't your traditional 3-down back, and again needs to work on that aspect of being more dynamic in terms as a receiver, as a running back, and can improve as a blocker, especially with his size at 225 pounds. But this is a guy that I think, again, is still an elite talent. He's a stud. He has that home run hitting ability. I know some people don't think that, but I think he's got very underrated open field speed. He kind of showcased that with his 40 time, kind of validated that more so to say with his 40 time at 4.49. He is a guy, he gets into the open field, he can beat you to the corner, and he also can make you miss. I think he's got great elusiveness as well in the open field, underrated elusiveness in the open field, and he's also got great vision. He's physical. He can run in between the tackles. And again, he's not the athlete that Saquon Barkley is, but don't discount his ability because of that. Because again, I think he's still an elite talent. And again, whether it's with that 40th overall pick in the second round, again, I don't know if the Broncos are interested in taking Derrius Guice. I don't know if he'll even be there, but this guy, I would just be so thrilled to take him. I love him as a prospect. I'm gonna, regardless of who drafts him, I think he's a stud, and I think he'll be a great player and great offensive weapon immediately for team to utilize that takes him. But I think he'd be a great fit here again with C.J. Anderson being out. He's that big physical running back that I think would be a nice complement next to a guy like D'Angelo Henderson, who can kind of take some of the receiving responsibilities away from him, so he doesn't have to worry about that as much. And again, the production's there, man. This guy in 2017, a year where he was kind of injured, and battled some injuries, still rushed for 1,251 yards, 11 touchdowns, had 18 catches, 124 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Again, isn't the best receiving threat in the second round. Maybe the Broncos can utilize those 2 third-round picks to maybe trade back in the second round to get him if he keeps falling. And again, I know it's a deep running back class, so we might just wait on the running back. But I would love to add him, and I think especially now in the second round with the value, you can't go wrong, because this is a kid that should have been a first-round pick, and I think is day one starter, special, and really complements our offense well. Again, playing next to D'Angelo Henderson, I think the combination of him and D'Angelo Henderson, Derrius Guice, and Henderson in the backfield can be very special. So definitely Derrius Guice, running back at LSU, should be on the top of our list as guys we're considering again in probably that second round tonight. The third prospect I'm going to talk about, this is actually a kid playing in our backyard in Boulder, actually for the University of Colorado. We got Isaiah Oliver, defensive back out of CU, junior. Big, long, athletic corner, 6 foot, 201 pounds, ran a 4.5 40 at that size. Again, is a guy that has a great combination of size, length, and speed. Had 19 pass deflections and 3 interceptions his last 2 seasons at CU. Nice story with him kind of playing in the backyard, the Broncos' backyard again up at Boulder for the Buffaloes. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, I think, again, corner maybe is not the biggest position of need for us. Again, we do have Bradley Roby, who if you've followed my channel for any sort of time now, is one of my favorite Broncos players, if not my favorite Bronco player, and a guy I believed in since we've drafted as a starting corner. So we have him and Chris Harris. We brought in Tremaine Brock. You don't necessarily need to add another corner, but Isaiah Oliver, I think, is a guy that can kind of help replace some of that size, length, and speed you lost at the position in losing Aqib Talib. I'm not sure he's the ball hawk Aqib Talib is, the playmaker Aqib Talib is. I'm not sure he's as physical as Aqib Talib is. I mean, Isaiah Oliver is still very raw. He could use some time to develop. his skill set, but I think he come into a great situation here in Colorado. Again, a state he's familiar with, Denver, I'm sure a city he's familiar with, and learn behind guys like Chris Harris Jr. and Bradley Roby and Tremaine Brock, take from them, and hopefully, you know, grow into a great corner and a key to lead type corner. Again, he's got that size, length, and speed that I think we're still kind of missing now at the corner position and losing to leave. Again, 6 foot, 201 pounds, ran a 4.5 40. Could be a potentially kind of diamond in the rough of this defensive back group, and a defensive back group that really has been kind of downgraded and downplayed as not the greatest class. So Isaiah Oliver, defensive back out of Colorado, look for the Broncos to maybe looking to add him tonight. At the fourth prospect I'm going to talk about, we got Equanimeous St. Brown, wide receiver out of Notre Dame, maybe my favorite name in the entire draft. 6'5", 214 pounds. This guy I think could be a hidden gem in this draft. I know some people probably aren't high on him. Probably a guy the Broncos would look to maybe target in the 3rd round. His dad was a former Mr. Universe. His 2 younger brothers also play wide receiver. I believe his youngest brother was actually the top high school wide receiver in either this past year or this year coming up. He just committed to USC. So obviously, you know, has a great lineage and again has kind of a great background and great story. I believe he's also fluent in 3 languages. I mean, just kind of a unique guy. Again, one of my favorite names, very unique name, and Equanimeous St. Brown. And is a guy that is just a physical freak. 6'5", 214 pounds, as I mentioned, great size for the position. Ran a 4.48 40 at that size. Put up 20 reps at 225 on the bench press at the combine. So really kind of showcased that physical ability and athleticism that he has again at that size, and is a guy that can take the top off of a defense. It is a deep threat again at 6'5", 214 pounds, and we need that 3rd wide receiver. Again, I think he would complement Emmanuel Sanders and DT well. Playing next to those 2 guys, can learn from both of them as well. And again, give Case Keenum another down the field deep threat target, and another great red zone target as well to add to the offensive side of the football. And this is also a guy that, given his size, you wouldn't expect this, but this is also a guy that can play in the slot. He did that at Notre Dame at times, so I think gives you some versatility as a play caller from an offensive standpoint. And again, I think he's kind of a hidden gem. He's willing to go over the middle too, which you like seeing. He's willing to sacrifice his body for a catch. For that size, a receiver of that size, you like seeing that at that position. But again, there's some questions about him, as there is with every draft prospect. There's some questions about him as a competitor and his competitiveness, his route running ability, him obviously utilizing his size more. He's not the most physical wide receiver, given his size at 6'5", 214 pounds, which I think us Broncos fans understand that all too well with DT and kind of his play style. But still, I think Equanimeous St. Brown, this guy can be a gem in the making, a real steal in this draft again in the 3rd round, and really kind of fill that void that you're looking for in a 3rd wide receiver, and be a great value pick in the 3rd round. Again, great story as well, great family, just a great kid in general, and I think he'd really fit well in Denver. Kalen Ballage, running back out of Arizona State, senior, is another guy in kind of the same vein as Equanimeous St. Brown that I think is kind of a hidden gem in this class. Again, I know some people probably don't feel that same way, but I really, really like Kalin Ballack. I know the Broncos, I think, like him as well. Got to know him at the Senior Bowl, and from all the reports I've seen coming out of the Combine since the Senior Bowl, the Broncos like this kid. So once again, we have a void at running back with C.J. Anderson being gone, losing a Pro Bowl running back. You need to fill that void. And I think Kalin Ballack would definitely do that. 6'2", 228 pounds, 4.46 40 at the combine, 33-inch vertical again at 228 pounds, pretty impressive. And like Isaiah Oliver, as I mentioned before, with him playing in kind of the Broncos' backyard, at CU up in Boulder, would be kind of a nice story. This would also be a nice story in drafting Kalin Ballack, because he was actually born in Peyton, Colorado. And grew up here. I believe played his high school football here, was a 4-star recruit coming out of Colorado, so it'd be great for him to return home, play for the Broncos. I'm sure he grew up watching the Broncos, and again, I think his potential is extremely high. I think he has the potential to be similar to a guy like Le'Veon Bell. I know that's extremely lofty, comparison, but given his size, his athleticism, and his skill set, I think he's got great burst. I think he's got great patience, vision, good feet in between the tackles, and is very nimble runner, and can get skinny for his size in a way that you don't really see much for, again, guys that are 6'2", 230 pounds. You only see guys that Le'Veon Bell kind of run in that style with that ability. And because of his receiving ability, though, mainly, I think that's where I see him kind of similar as Le'Veon Bell. I think he definitely has the potential to be a 3-down back, and has that 3-down ability. And again, like St. Brown could be a gem of this draft. Take him in the 3rd round, come in, maybe be a 3-down back, start for you right away. And like Derrius Guice, as I mentioned earlier, I think complements D'Angelo Henderson mainly really well. I think that duo could potentially be very lethal. So Kalin Ballage, definitely a guy in the 3rd round Broncos. He should be there with pick 71 and 99 if we decide to stay there. Again, who knows? We could trade up, trade down, whatever happens. He's a guy definitely we could look for. And like Will Hernandez, we've kind of been linked to as well. So the 5 prospects, again, that I think the Broncos could look to target tonight in night 2 of the 2018 NFL Draft. Again, there was plenty of guys I named in this video that are also still very talented prospects that I think the Broncos could be interested and that I wanted to talk about in this video, but due to time, for time reasons and for time's sake, just in general, obviously wasn't going to do that. But there's guys like Josh Jackson, defensive back out of Iowa, who would be great for us. You got Brian O'Neill, offensive tackle out of Pittsburgh. You got Alan Lazar, wide receiver out of Iowa State. You got Royce Freeman, running back out of Oregon. You got Ronald Jones, running back out of USC. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's again, plethora of guys I'm forgetting right now, even that are still available. There's so much talent available. Even a quarterback, we could go Mason Rudolph. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Can come in and sit behind Case Keenum. Someone like Mike White. I mean, there's even some quarterbacks. Again, the depth of this draft I think is very underrated, and we got 3 picks. Would like to see us utilize them. Hopefully to great effect tonight, kind of in the same way we did in night 1 again, and being patient, kind of letting the board fall to us, but getting a stud in defensive end Bradley Chubb out of NC State. So leave me a comment below, guys. What do you think of these 5 players and prospects I touched on? And what are some of the guys you'd like to see the Broncos target tonight in rounds 2 and 3 of the 2018 NFL Draft? Thank you guys for your support as always. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble constantly. And please subscribe if you like the video. The support is, trust me, it does not go unnoticed. And please, again, it would be much appreciated. So take care, guys. Enjoy night 2 of the NFL Draft 2018. It's been a great draft so far, and can't wait to see who are the newest members of the Denver Broncos joining Bradley Chubb after last night. Take care, guys.